Our legislative community is currently going through an intense period of self-evaluation on the topic of how we treat each other, where we've been failing to do things right, and how we need to do things better. My own involvement in all this has been greatly magnified as a result of a complaint that was filed against me for reasons that I believe are largely unrelated to the complaint itself. However, the complaint was followed by a number of additional complaints, the majority of which were sincere, and which exposed me to the knowledge that my actions were not always received as intended, and that worse still, they caused genuine discomfiture or pain. At first, my response was largely defensive, born of frustration, and a few complaints were not true or made for personal or political vendettas. But it would be a mistake to treat each and every complaint the same if I failed to learn from legitimate complaints, and if I failed to recognize and apologize for those actions that caused damage or hurt. We, as a larger capital community, cannot begin to heal until those of us who have made mistakes begin the process ourselves. For me, that means learning and changing, so I stand before you today because it is my desire that we now begin to heal. Excuse me. The healing won't start in earnest, at least with respect to the people who I've hurt, without me recognizing that comments that I have made in jest over the past 7 years were not received in the spirit to which they were intended, or quite the contrary, some were jarring, insensitive, and demeaning. I don't need to wait for an investigative report to know that. In the past, when I've told a joke that landed badly, I realized it, and I always apologized. My purpose is always to entertain and get people smiling and laughing, and that has been my style as a kid, a farmer, a legislator. But when someone reacts badly or tells me I've hurt their feelings, I feel terrible and try to immediately remedy it. It has been hard to sit on my hands during this political and legal process and not acknowledge that I care. I want to get it right, and I want to make it right. I was beyond embarrassed to hear that what I thought were welcomed and well-intentioned hugs were perceived as creepy and lecherous. I didn't know. As soon as I did know, I have been and I am sorry. I will confess that were times when hearing that I had offended someone with a boorish comment, or that what I had intended as a simple hug turned into someone believing that I had crossed some line, I was sorry. But I also reacted defensively and thought to myself that some people are just too sensitive. It has taken me time to understand that I have been insensitive. It is unfair to expect everyone to react to things the way I might react. And if I'm going to be a comedian, I have to understand and be sensitive to my audience, not blame them when my jokes fall short. I know that comments intended to be hospitable, harmlessly flirtatious and outrageous, and above all intended to be humorous, weren't at all humorous, and caused others to believe that I did not value who they were as individuals. I've taken all this very hard. I have a stupid flu. I've taken this very hard, and those who know me well know that under all the clowning and the shtick I put on, I care a lot. Nor was this reaction limited to how women reacted to my behavior. During this investigation process, I learned that I not only offended women, one complaint was from a man. I learned that a crass and offensive comment I made in jest in an after-hours event to a legislative candidate in response to a political prediction was perceived as sexual harassment, which I never would have imagined. My sarcastic response related to buggery. Repeating my response now during the day in front of my colleagues, including women, is evidence enough that I should not have said it. It is a little rough. This candidate interpreted my remarks as serious, not sarcastic, for which I am embarrassed and deeply regretful. I look forward to apologizing personally. It is important that you all know that while my actions have unintentionally offended some, I have never attempted to touch anyone, make obscene gestures to a woman, or sought a tryst or sexual relationship. It may be inconsistent with my attempts at humor, but I have lived my life as someone who absolutely reveres and respects women. I have been blessed to be married for 41 years to an incredible woman to whom I have remained devoted. I was brought up to be a gentleman who will hold the door, pull out the chair, stand when a woman leaves the table, lend her my jacket when she is cold. However, I am now acutely aware that not everyone understands my attempts at humor and resented that I did not show the respect and value each individual deserves. This is one of the things that bothers me the most. I am sorry. I'm sorry for the distraction and strain that this matter and the subsequent investigation have caused all of you. That was not my intent when I asked for the investigation. I don't want to go one more day without apologizing and honoring all of you, not only by saying I'm sorry, but by doing better. This has been a painful process for all of us. Hopefully, those of you I've hurt, you feel empowered for speaking up. Your courage has already had a profound impact on the way I relate to others. I also want to tell you that I am still your friend and want to hear from you. I especially want to hear if I'm doing something wrong. I wish that, I've heard a little bit of that. I wish that the people who came forward months or years later had said something immediately at the time so I could have apologized and made improvements along the way. But I understand why they didn't. I hope that while I strive to be better, you would help me all along the way, and if you see things that I can improve, it's time to repair and begin to heal. I want to get this right. It can be tough to teach old dogs new tricks, but this old dog can learn and will do better. I look forward to personally listening, expressing my remorse once the investigation is over. To the extent of those I have offended are interested, I'm sorry. Thanks.